Every morning, before the sun crept high enough to cast shadows across the cracked Lincoln Creek Middle School parking lot, Ms. Helena Moreno arrived at work. She always parked in the farthest corner next to the flickering lamppost that buzzed faintly with leftover electricity. It was her routinious simple ritual that grounded her. She'd climb out of her faded silver Corolla, smooth the front of her blue apron, which she insisted on wearing from home to keep it crisp, and check the gates before heading inside through the cafeteria's side door. Inside, the scent of bleach and old ovens greeted her like an old friend. The night custodian, Gerald, was usually finishing up the last of his sweeping. They'd exchange a quiet nod or a soft good morning. Then Helena would head to her station, beginning the work of preparing meals for the hundreds of students who'd soon stream in, hungry or at least ready to pretend they were. She'd been in that cafeteria for over a decade and took pride in knowing every corner of its freezer's stubborn handle, the exact pressure it took to get the industrial oven's latch to click shut, and which ladle was best for chili versus gravy. She didn't have a teacher's license or a social work degree, but she understood kids in ways few others did. Not just from how they ordered food or how many sides they grabbed, but from how they moved, how they hesitated, how they smiled or didn't. The cafeteria was a microcosm of the whole school, and Helena had become fluent in its unspoken language. She knew Meatloaf Thursdays meant half-eaten plates and a surge in napkin use. She knew Taco Tuesdays created organized chaos, and that pizza on Fridays turned lunch into a feeding frenzy. She knew which kids would complain, which ones would trade snacks under the table, and which would try sneaking a second chocolate milk when they thought no one was looking. But one child slipped past even her practiced gaze at first. It was the boy who barely spoke. He was called Eli. Helena first noticed him simply because of what he didn't do. He didn't joke around in line. Didn't roll his eyes when she announced the special. Didn't make demands or groan when handed vegetables. He waited until the crowd thinned, until the line was nearly empty, and only then would he take a tray, whatever was left, without question, and retreat to the furthest corner of the room. Alone. At first, Helena assumed he was just shy. Maybe anxious. The kind of quiet soul who didn't care for cafeteria crowds or loud conversations. But after a few days, she began to spot a pattern. Eli never ate. He'd push food around, move a fork here or there, maybe crumple a napkin and place it over his plate like a shroud. Then, when the bell rang, he'd stack his tray always last and slip it beneath others at the return station. Helena only noticed because she started checking. And she checked because something about his actions gnawed at her. The untouched food. The perfectly folded napkin. The way he seemed to guard his tray, not like a kid being picky, but like someone hiding something. One day she lifted the napkin herself and found a smear of red beneath it. At first, she thought it was ketchup, but it wasn't the right consistency, and there wasn't any ketchup on the tray. It smelled faintly metallic. Blood. She stiffened, staring at the napkin, her stomach twisting. Had he cut himself? Was it old? You? There was too little to panic about, maybe a bloody nose, maybe a scraped finger, but it was hidden and it was fresh. She threw the napkin away but kept the image burned into her mind. The next day, she watched him more closely. He waited again. He took another untouched tray. He covered the food. He moved silently, never engaging. Helena started asking around quietly. Other staff members brushed it off. Probably just a picky eater, someone said. Maybe his folks have him on a weird diet. But her instincts were louder than their shrugs. Then one afternoon, she caught him by the lockers. He was hunched over, pulling out a book. Helena approached softly, carrying her own sandwich from the break room. You didn't eat again, she said, keeping her voice low. Eli flinched. Not hungry, he mumbled. That's 3 days, she said gently. I eat at home, he replied, not convincingly. She offered him her sandwich. Here. Just in case. He looked at it like it was contraband. His eyes darted left and right. I can't, he whispered. I'll get in trouble. Helena's spine stiffened. Why would you get in trouble for eating? He looked away. Then, almost too softly to hear, if I eat here, I won't be hungry enough to behave. Helena's stomach turned. It wasn't just a food issue. Someone was withholding Mialsa's punishment. As control. She placed the sandwich in his backpack. Eat it. Please. He nodded. Barely. Then walked away. That night, she didn't sleep. Those words echoed in her head, hungry enough to behave. By morning, Helena had a plan. She made 2 sandwiches and dug out an old prepaid cell phone from her junk drawer. She'd bought it years ago for emergencies. She charged it, slipped it into her purse, and wrote a note. If he starts yelling, press record. Then hide it. I'll handle the rest. At lunch, she handed Eli another sandwich, along with the phone, both wrapped tight. She caught his eye and gave him a steady look. He didn't say anything, just nodded faintly and left. She stayed late that night, pretending to organize supplies, hoping he'd come back. He didn't. The next morning, as she arranged apples in the cooler, Eli passed by and slipped a napkin into her hand. Inside was the phone. Folded around it was a note in tiny pencil scrawl. Recording. Please listen alone. She did. She ducked into the storage closet, locked the door, and pressed play. It began with Eli's soft voice. Please, I'm really hungry tonight. Then a man's voice, flat, cold. Good. That means it's working. A crash. A clatter of silverware. Dinners for boys who follow rules. You're still learning. Then silence. Then the final blow. Food is for control, not comfort. You want comfort, go back to the state. Helena's hands shook as the recording ended. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was abuse. Calculated. Cruel. A man, whoever he was starving a child into submission. Helena didn't trust the system. She'd seen what happened when schools followed protocol: meetings, paperwork, delays. She didn't have time for delays. She called her niece Claudia, a former foster placement specialist now working in Child Protective Services. Claudia listened, then asked, who's his guardian? Helena didn't know. She searched the school's staff system and found a name, Stephen Kane. Not a parent. Not licensed. A family friend. Claudia called back within the hour. He's not registered. No legal custody. No placement files. He's got no business keeping that boy. An emergency investigation was opened. Helena braced herself. That afternoon, Eli didn't show. A teacher said he'd gone home early, doctor's appointment, per a note from his guardian. Helena's gut twisted. She passed that info to Claudia. By noon the next day, Eli had been removed from the home. Helena finally exhaled. Later, the school counselor approached her, frowning. Did you report Eli outside the system? Yes, she said simply. You should have trusted protocol. I don't trust protocols that leave a kid starving. He walked away without another word. She didn't care. She'd do it again. The next morning, she saw Eli in line. Her heart stuttered. He looked different, cleaner, healthier. He wore a new hoodie and decent sneakers. His face was still pale, but his eyes didn't dart with fear anymore. He met her gaze and gave her a small nod. She handed him his tray: spaghetti, salad, and apple. He took it without flinching. At the end of lunch, he returned to the counter. Can I have seconds? He asked, quiet but clear. She beamed. Absolutely. He smiled. Faint, but real. He returned to his seat, not alone this time, but near a table of boys, laughing about something. Eli didn't laugh. Not yet. But he stayed. Present. Fed. Safe. And that was everything.